We last looked at Genesis chapter 35, and now we're in Genesis chapter 36. During this chapter, we are not going to do many video clips on YouTube because we're dealing with a history of the generations of Esau, who is actually Edom. Now, what I'm holding here is a map. This map is the Mediterranean Sea here. Here's Canaan, which is actually Israel. And down here is Moab, which was actually the daughters of Job, who created that wicked civilization of Moab. And then we move down, and there's Edom. Here's Canaan, and here is Edom, or Seir, as we can see that here. Up here is Gilead. Yes, the Mount Gilead. And Mount Gilead, down here, that blue line down here, is called the Highway of the Fertile Crescent. It goes all the way around to Mesopotamia. It was on this highway. It was on this highway that Esau met Jacob to bring him down to Edom. But Jacob went down from the mountain only to here and then crossed over into Canaan. That is the history, that is the geography of what happened. And as you can see, Canaan is now today's Israel. I have a more up-to-date map, but this is what was displayed behind me. So I will recount what is happening in the first 5 verses of Genesis chapter 36. This chapter is completely dedicated to the generations of the Edomites. This is the second last time that this expression, the generations of. The technical term of that among theologians is, it is a toledoth. A toledoth, the generations of, generations of, generations of. The last one in the book of Genesis is in Genesis 37, where Jacob actually closes his generations list, and he says the generations of Jacob, or Israel. But here we have the generations of Esau, who is Edom. In the Hebrew Old Testament, well, they only have the Old Testament, don't they? But in the Hebrew text, it says, now these are the generations of Esau. The same is Edom, or Edom. Indeed, Moses stressed repeatedly that Esau is Edom. In verse 8, it says, and Esau dwelt in the mountain land of Seir. Esau is Edom. And in verse 19, he says, These are the sons of Esau, and these are their chiefs, the same as Edom. Edom then was the name that the kingdom of Seir was changed into. Also important to note is that the chapter records events that occurred from when Jacob first left Canaan, bound for Laban, his uncle, and got his family there. Chapter 36 was written to tell the reader, that's us, or the listener, that's you, what was happening during Jacob's absence. Here is listed the genealogy of Esau and his sons and grandsons, and their genealogy of the Edomites when they assimilated the Horites, that means swallowed them up, whom they conquered to inhabit Seir. So the generations of Esau were particularly marked to show how exactly God fulfilled prophecies that he made in Genesis 25 and 27. Hereby, we are also shown more fully the process of fulfilling the promises to Abraham that he should be the father of many nations, and of that declaration made to Rebekah when she inquired of the Lord, "What's going on in my tummy?" God said, "Two nations are in thy womb." So the name of Edom, now I'd like to remind you that the name of Edom came about from two things. One was when Esau was born and came out red and all over, red all over, like a hairy garment. He had lots of red hair. Are you sure he was Israeli? My goodness, that sounds like a Scotsman. Oh, excuse me. So that's in Genesis 25:25. And it came about because of the remembrance of the foolish bargain Esau made when he sold his birthright for that delicious red lentil stew. Wow, it must have been delicious in Genesis 25:33. 40 years before Jacob was married, Esau took his wives from the daughters of Canaan. And there were three in verses 2 and 3 that are mentioned under different names. Two of them were daughters of Canaan, and one was a daughter of Ishmael. So they had nicknames, and the nicknames became permanent names. This was all discussed in previous sessions, how people changed their names, and these names became permanent, and that is the names where we remember them by. Do we remember Abram? No, we remember Abraham. The same thing happened with others. But we'll continue here. How about Sarai? She became Sarah. So, therefore, it is evident that Bashemath is the same person as Mahalath from Genesis 28, verse 9. We're talking here verses 2 and 3 of Genesis 36. Also, it stands to reason that Ada is the same as Judith and Aholibama as Bashemath from Genesis 26:34. It was not unusual for women during that time to change their names, especially at marriage. And this also was discussed in a previous session. And then Ada bore Esau Eliphaz. Do you realize Eliphaz means God, his strength? Could this have been one of Job's 3 friends who visited him in his affliction in Job 2:11 and 4 verse 1? He was listed as a native of Teman, a Temanite, which really is located in Edom. And Bashemath bore Ruel, meaning friend of God. In giving whole godly names, maybe Esau was trying to appease his parents, who were really upset at his marrying Canaanite idolatrous women. Remember, he thought that marrying a daughter of Ishmael would impress his father, because Ishmael, after all, was his father's brother, right? And Aholibama bore Jewish and Jalam and Korah. In keeping with trying to understand what was happening in their lives of the people in those times, it is considered prudent to give the meanings of the sons' names. Jewish means assembler or putting together of things. Jalam means concealer or hidden by Jehovah. And finally, Korah means ice, frozen, hail, or bald. I wonder what Esau was thinking when he named him that. Or how did Korah look when he was named frozen or bald? Verse 5, which is what I was reading until, closes with, "These are the sons of Esau, which were born to him in the land of Canaan." Although there is no mention in this entire chapter of any born to him elsewhere, verse 6 does tell us he had daughters also. So right now, I'm telling you, because of the nature of this chapter, much of it will just be listed in writing as straightforward, unless some remarkable event needs to be highlighted. Other than that, meaning of names will continue to be given, as that in those ancient days they often told the story of what was happening in their lives. Other than that, the next time I will be giving a video of what is happening in Genesis, again starting in chapter 37, where the rest of Genesis is all about Joseph.